Hey, good afternoon, guys. Welcome, North Point of View. Dr. Walter Kemmsies. Walter.
Mark,
How you doing, man?
I'm okay, man. I'm really okay. How
All
are
right.
you?
Hey, I'm good. Gonna dive into sort of what's happening in the tech world. We were just digging through some data, some stats, computer chips. I think M just said we were looking for how many computer chips in a F-150. I think my guess was 7. I think the answer is like 3,000.
Yep.
I think I'm figuring out why there's a shortage, right? What's the solution there? What's going on?
But wait a minute, it's not just the trucks. I mean, it's everything, all right? You know, you can now cook a meal while you're off you get your iPhone and do a little programming and the kitchen goes to work.
Yeah.
So I think there's more computing power in my kitchen, in my designed kitchen. You know, we haven't installed it yet, but there'll be more computing power in my kitchen than in the space module that we use to send astronauts to the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just mind-boggling to me, you know. So every day, everything gets a little bit smarter.
Right.
We've got windshields now that can detect the temperature and you know, they're called smart windshields. So we're making smart glass.
Yeah. They turn on your windshield wipers for you, the whole thing. I'm getting my speed and my truck projected up on my whole thing. It tells me what speed zone I'm in, the whole thing, right?
So basically everything is becoming a computer on wheels or a computer in the kitchen or a computer insert, whatever. It's all the same.
Yeah.
So for manufacturing powerhouses like China, this is a problem because they don't really have great manufacturing capacity.
No, wait a minute. You're telling me, what? Did I miss something?
Yeah.
Too much Red Bull? I mean, am I China doesn't have great manufacturing capacity?
No, they don't. In fact, the powerhouses are Japan and Korea and Taiwan.
Well, why are all those boxes coming over from China then?
Well, they have to buy chips from those producers, and they do make some in China, but China's it's quite far behind everybody else when it comes to computer technology. You know, people.
Well, they must have a good PR firm because I'm not thinking that way. But
no, but I'll tell you what the problem is. You see, everybody says we have so many $100 billion trade deficit with China every year.
Right, that's what I'm going off of. Right.
But if you look at the supply chains, and there is this, you know, people who model trade like I do, we look at the re-exporting of things. So if you look at a car today sold in the United States, it is likely to have crossed the U.S.-Mexico border 7 times before it finally goes to the dealership. So you put the tires together here, you send it over there, they assemble it into a chassis, the chassis comes back over the border over here, we put some high engine technology, it goes back over there, they start putting the body on it. So you've got goods around the world that get re-exported. So eliminating all that.
No wonder there's not enough truck drivers.
Exactly. So when you look at China is just a big assembly plant. The stuff that they're assembling is coming from other countries. So our big trade deficit with China is not. You know, years ago, we punished Japan. Ronald Reagan did. In 1987, he announced a 100% tariff on Japanese tools and technology products. So what did they do? The factories started to move to Taiwan, Korea, Hong Kong, other places where the product produced there by the same companies wouldn't get tariffed in the US. And so Japan's direct share of our trade dropped from 24% of the value of our imports to 12% over a 7-year period. And right now what's happening is China's bringing all those components together. They assemble the product, for example, the iPhone, which is made in something like 30 countries, all the little pieces, and then they send it over to us. And then what happens is people who do not understand trade look at the trade deficit and they go, wow, that's a substantial trade deficit. And the answer is no, you got to trace the whole supply chain to understand what's going on.
Right.
And even till today, I see policymakers and analysts getting on TV and, UBS investment bank analysts talking about supply chain, the end of globalization, and it's ignorant. It's just not how things work. So China is spending a lot of money on developing improved technology. But the problem is, if you take a look at the academic research, and this was true to at least a few years ago, US published research in technology journals is always about innovations, new products. It's pushing the frontier. When you look at the research published from Asian professors and researchers, it tends to be how to do it better, how to make this thing better. Americans are, let's do a new thing that can do more things. And so the problem is innovation research in China is just not there. It's not in the DNA of the system that the Communist Party produced.
Yeah, and we can talk about that later, but
Exactly.
I'm reading a book right now on that. We've talked about it, and there's no real incentive.
No, and China's made the same mistake our government did. There was that one article that you pointed out to me that said, where the analyst, he said a bunch of nonsense, but he said one thing that really worked for me. And that is, if you want to get American companies to really manufacture here, then you place a really big order.
Yeah.
So with some certainty about demand, and then you can make the investment. Just like in real estate. What would you rather do? Spec or build to suit?
Yep.
So anyways, so China just doesn't have that capacity, and I think it is no coincidence that China wants Taiwan.
It's the chips.
Yeah, Taiwan, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation. When I was a stock market analyst, a strategist, it was always in my portfolio. I love the company. The innovations they've made to chip manufacturing, they beat everybody. Intel, doesn't matter. They're the number one, intelligent supply chain strategy. And there was that great article which reviewed that. If you're in a race with somebody and you're in second place, what you learn to do is to find a different way to pass the guy in number one. But if you imitate what the number one guy is doing in a sailboat race, for instance, you can't win. So there was an old game theory story about a sailboat. It's racing towards the finish. It's in first place. If it goes through the northern channel to get to the end, it will be a little bit slower, but the wind is steadier. But if they go to the south channel, the wind is much faster, but it's not as steady. So the question is, which channel should they pick?
Yeah.
And the answer is, what's number two doing? You're going to keep that spread. And so Taiwan, semiconductor manufacturing company, they changed tactics. They went north when everybody went south. And now they're in first place. And what China is doing is, something that's not going to work there. They need a different strategy. And our government does too, because we're kind of imitating what China's doing, giving money to companies. I'm sorry, Mark, I don't like unnecessary market intervention.
Well, that's that artificial stimulus that we've talked about, that what really drives the market is going to be on the demand side.
Exactly.
And
as always, let the markets work.
Let the markets work.
Yeah. So the other thing I think that is kind of worth considering is, within this grand scheme of things, all this technology does worry me. For all of these chips in the cars, I always wonder even if it's an internal combustion engine, if a car gets struck by lightning, will those chips melt down and you have to completely buy a new car? Because right now if a lightning strike hits my car, I'm going to drive away in it. But that Ford F-1, your F-250.
You know where you are, though? Yeah. Back to the Future.
Exactly.
That's the scenario I was waiting for. That's the image. We got to go. Hey, man.
Good
afternoon.
Thanks for your
Walter.
time. Everybody, take care.
I was trying to think of the professor's name in Back to the Future.
I know.
And my mind went blank. What's his name, man?